First of all, I'm very happy and excited to do this session today. Thanks to Nirmal Panikar, Bonnie, and everyone in TiE Kerala who works to make this event happen. So before starting the session, I would like to ask you to start thinking about a question. The question is, what are the top 3 challenges or barriers you face right now in scaling up your business to the next level? Maybe I can repeat. What are the top 3 challenges or barriers you face right now in scaling up your business to the next level? So don't stress about getting the right answers to this question. If you have a notepad, or maybe you can write down in your mobile also, don't stress about the perfect answer. Just write what comes to your mind, and we can take maybe 15 to 30 seconds to write down the answers. Yeah, that's Dr. Harshvardhan sir has posted his answers. Oh, a lot of people are posting in chat. So that's a good thing because I can get a lot of feedback. No, lack of talent, risk of losing capital, funds. Okay, I assume that some of you may be able to write all the 3 answers. Some of you may not be able to write even one answer because you may be not having enough clarity to write those answers, and that's perfectly fine. The reason why I asked this question is to start thinking about this question so that you get clarity, or the clear answers while progressing the session and after this session when you reflect the learnings of this session. So before starting the session, I would like to make 2 promises. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So I want to make 2 simple promises. And one is that you will get few practical insights to find out your barriers in scaling up your business to the next level. That's one. And the next one, the second one, is that you will get few short-term and long-term ideas, which you can, in short-term means you can start implementing it tomorrow, and the long-term ideas for scaling up your business. So those are the 2 promises. And to deliver those promises, we'll be covering 3 topics, which is the first one is what is the second value of death in business? And the second value of death in business, that's not a topic that is much discussed in the business world. When I wrote an article in Dunham about the same, I got a lot of feedbacks from the CEOs saying the same thing. We always heard scaling up around funding, and this is a different take on the scaling up. So we'll be going in detail to the second value of death. And the second point is the barriers to scaling up a business. And the third topic is that what do successful companies that scale up to bigger turnovers and profits do in common? So now you may be wondering, now who is this guy? Why should I listen to him? I think this is the right time to make a quick introduction. So I have been helping CEOs of companies, growing companies globally, to scale up by solving the organizational complexity that comes with growth. We will take a look at what is organizational complexity in few minutes. So before, companies which do international business, and I was working in roles specifically to scale up those businesses. So when I left the company, what I understood that very few tactical advice exists about scaling a company from 10 to 20 to thousands. Achieving product market fit, and raising initial investments, and getting some revenue is not enough to scale up the business. Many companies that pass the startup phase fail because they fail to manage the organizational complexity that comes with growth. And sometimes the companies may even go bankrupt because they failed to manage this organization complexity. Which takes us to the first topic: is your company in the second valley of death? Spend a little bit time looking at this slide and see if you understand something. Even if you don't, it's okay. I don't plan to explain this slide, this concept with this slide. I will tell you a real story. These are just numbers. Try to understand it for maybe 5 seconds. And okay, let's go to the story of this person. He's the founder and CEO of a technology product company, and let's call him John. So John is the founder and CEO of a product company which has about 30 employees. His revenues are growing. He has achieved product market fit and raised few initial investments, but he is sad right now because of the following reasons. This is a little bit crowded slide compared to what you saw before, but I included these points in the slide because you can take a photo of that and use it for reflection after the session. So John is sad because he started seeing the following symptoms in his business. And let's go through it one by one. The first one is growth is slow. The profit is not scaling with revenue. He has revenues, but the profit is not scaling with revenue. Difficulty in attracting, hiring, and retaining top talent. The cash flow is negative. The failing to delight customers, which results in losing them. And the strategies that worked well in marketing and sales is not working anymore. The communication with employees is getting more difficult. Employees are working in different directions and not in an aligned way to achieve the organization goals. And employees are not meeting performance expectations. And on an emotional level, John found it very tiring to run the company because he seems to be working more hours than any other employee in the company. So when his business scales up, he guessed that it should be more easy and fun to run the business, but what happened is actually the opposite. And John started wondering why this happened. But he didn't realize that his company in the second valley of death. So my question here is that, are you facing any of these symptoms in your business right now? If yes, and if you can relate to John's situation in some way, then you should act now. If you want to share, if you face any situations which I mentioned below in the chat, feel free to share it, so that I still get feedback from the people who attend this session. So John's company is in the second valley of death, and all companies which gets into the second valley of death, they don't die. Some companies, of course, survive the second valley of death. And the reason why companies fail to survive the second valley of death is this. It's the failure in managing the increasing size and complexity of the internal organization. So I have been repeating this complexity a few times in this session. So it's time to look at what is the complexity. So when you look at the left side, you can see two people. So let's go back to the time when you and your co-founder was there while starting the business. The communication is between just two people. And sometimes even the communication between two people is difficult. But as the business grew and then the workload increased, then the natural tendency is to hire more people, assuming that more things will get done, more customers will be served, etc. So you hired more people, and when you get to 2 to 3 to 4, what happens is that the communication channels increases. And this is what is called complexity. And this not only just communication, every complexity in the company increases. So when you need people, you need more physical infrastructure, you need more accounting systems, you need different kind of HR softwares, and this all leads to the complexity. And the companies who fail to manage this complexity are the ones who do not survive the second valley of death. And this complexity is responsible for creating all the symptoms which I mentioned before. So I would like to repeat that if you can relate your situation to John's situation, and if you see the symptoms which I explained before, then you must act now. Hope the complexity part and the points which I shared till now is clear to everyone. If you understand, if it's clear, it would be nice to see some yes in the chat. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who is posting in the chat. So this takes us to the second topic in this presentation, which are the barriers to scaling up a business. And there are 3 key barriers to scale up a business. The first one is leadership. So when you are about 10, 15, 20, 25 employees, one of the barriers you face is the leadership problem. And that means the inability to staff or grow enough leaders throughout the organization who have the capabilities to delegate and predict. So let's go to what delegation and prediction is. Prediction means, as you know that the markets are dynamic more than ever. So the senior leadership team or the founder should spend more time in market-facing activities, talking to customers and employees, instead of firefighting with the daily operations. And I'm not saying that daily operations is not a priority, but if you look at if you look at companies, what you can see is that the senior management team members are very busy fixing the daily operational stuff, but they don't spend enough time meeting the customers. Because I have worked with a CEO who has about 40 employees. So he is responsible for so he was driving the sales in the organization, and sales was going very good, but delivery was a big problem. The thing is that he was only focused on sales, and he was only focused only talking to the new customers, that he forgot the customers. He didn't find time, or it was never a priority for him to find time and talk to the old customers. What happened is that the initial sales happen, but the delivery goes bad. It leads to reputation industry and problems when the customer is not satisfied. So this should be one priority, and it should go into the system of scaling. Now, this priority should go to it in the system of scaling, which I will explain in a few minutes. And the second part is delegation when it comes to leadership. And this is a very difficult part for entrepreneurs, letting go and trusting others to do things. This is very difficult because they want to have the control, and they think that without their involvement, things won't go in the right direction. And it's difficult to scale up your company without delegation. But delegation is not just about hiring some people and giving away the work. There is a methodical way to do the delegation. So I would say that follow this. It's good to have a framework if you, follow this framework depending upon the situation of your company. To get to 10 employees, founders must delegate activities in your week. To get to 50 employees, founders must delegate functions in which you are strong. And this is the example I mentioned before. let's say that you are the CEO of the company, and what happens is that if you are strong, if the CEO is strong in sales, as the companies scale up, what happens is that if the CEO focus more on the sales will go up, but everyone lose the big picture. The other areas of business will lose its focus and it will not go well. If the CEO focus on the big picture and work on growing the business and also focus on the sales won't grow very well. That's my experience, and that's I have seen this in many companies. So to get to 50 employees, the founders must delegate functions in which you are strong. And from 50 employees and up, senior leaders must develop additional leaders throughout the organization. Then comes this, the hierarchy and other stuff when you go up to above 50 employees. The third thing, the first is, after the second thing, delegation, repetition is the next key thing. So, and this simple sentence can explain it all. So the leader's final job is to keep the main thing the main thing. So what happens in many companies is that, let's take an example of what happens in top management teams. So at the beginning of the quarter, the CEO and the top management team gathers and agree to achieve a set of goals. And then, okay, they agree on the goals, and then they leave. And at the end of the quarter, they gather again to realize that they didn't achieve their goals. Then starts all the blaming. We didn't achieve the goals because of that and because of this. But this is what you can do even in your top management team tomorrow. You need to reflect back regularly or evaluate the progress towards your goals regularly, and that's what's called repetition. If you need to keep people focused, you need to repeat it again and again. Otherwise, people will travel in different directions. So the job of the CEO is to do this repetition through systems. One thing which when I was working in a company, what we used to do is a weekly management meeting in which we review our goals and evaluate the progress and discuss where we are stuck. And that's very important. Discuss where people are stuck and help them to remove those blocks while they work towards the goals. So the repetition is the key thing, and to get people focused and execute very well, you should do a lot of repetition. Coming to the second barrier, that is scalable infrastructure. So there's not much to explain here when compared to the leadership barriers. So it's the lack of systems and structures, physical and organizational, to handle the complexities in communications and decisions that come with growth. Systems can be, the physical infrastructure, of course, the office space, the font systems, and the accounting systems. A lot of physical and organizational structures you need to have while you scale up. And when it comes to communication, what sort of how the communication should be, what tools to use for the communication are crucial. So that's scalable infrastructure. And while going to the third barriers to scaling up a business, it's marketing. So in my experience, the marketing and leadership are the very big barriers in scaling up a business. So the failure to scale up an effective marketing function that attracts new relationships, customers, talent, etc., to the business and address the increased competitive pressures and eroded margins as you scale. So marketing is not about just doing some offline marketing or just publishing some content online. That comes after your marketing strategy. What is the core function of the marketing? For example, if I have in this slide, you can see that attract new relationships, customers, talent, etc. So talent, and many of the companies don't do this talent part. They have a very good career page which explains how great it is to work at their company, and lot of benefits to the employees, with lot of benefits to the employees which employees get while they work at the company, but nobody knows because it's just the career page. So you need to have effective marketing systems to attract the talent. So I will tell an example that in the company I work for, the one of the key challenge is to attract great developers to the company. So if we manage to get great developers, then our business can really go high. So what we did is that we started organizing events for attracting developers. So event is all about the new technologies, and or completely educating the developers. And a lot of great developers ended up attending the event. And of course, as we are the company who used to organize the event, they started a relationship with our company. And gradually, some of the people ended up working for the company. So that's just an example. Now, there are a lot of ways you can do, a lot of ways you can follow online to attract talent. One second, my slide went here. Yeah. So a lot of things you can do to attract the talent. One example I saw in one of the career page of the website is that they have a list of vacancies, and if we don't find right vacancy, they have clearly said that if you don't find the vacancy, add yourself to your talent pipeline. They are not saying that put a open job application or anything. They say that add yourself to your talent pipeline. Name, email, that's it. So simple. So that simple initiative can create a lot of incoming applications. And that's a key function of marketing, that do you have enough applicants applying to you instead of headhunting? Enough applicants applying to you. So somebody raised the hand. Bonnie? Hi. Somebody raised the hand, it seems. No. Maybe we can take the questions afterwards. Or
yeah,
what do you do normally?
Yeah, we can take the questions afterwards, after the session. So
yeah, I think it's Gaudav who raised the hand.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's about attracting the new relationships. And when we come to the second point, it's about addressing the increased competitive pressures and prevent margin erosion with lots of customer input. So getting customer inputs getting customer inputs continuously is a key function of the marketing. So that helps to address the increasing competitive pressures. So in one of the clients which I helped, they used to do this thing, is that they used to interview every client after working with them for a few months. So they try to understand at their later stage how they find this company, and why did they do business with this, why did they decide to work with our company. So many questions they asked the clients to understand why the clients choose them. It may be that they believe that it's not a good question to ask at the beginning, good thing to do at the beginning, interviewing customers, but the marketing department do this. And the benefit of those interviews were that they got a lot of inputs to create different kinds of content for reaching their target audience based on the input from those customers. They were not publishing white papers, and then when they interviewed their customers, they understood that a lot of them read white papers, and they are interested in this and that topics. So they started creating those white papers. So that's the thing. I mentioned about lots of customer inputs. You need to marketing team should spend enough time gathering the customer input, and that will help the marketing team to determine the what we should be selling. to the best who is the ideal customer, and how best we should sell at the right price. So this is the benefit of the customer input. Your company will understand the right what to the best who's and how best we should sell at the right price. So I have few action recommendations here. I would recommend that read Ogilvy's 4 E's of marketing: experience, exchange, every place, and evangelism. And also, if you do not have a marketing meeting, establish a marketing meeting 1 hour per week in which you can discuss about the marketing priorities, the progress, and what you learn about customers from the past week. As I told you, it may give you a lot of inputs to create the content for your customers. It may give a lot of input for you to start a new service, maybe a new way to serve your customers. You never know. So I would say, establish a marketing meeting 1 week to review the priorities, progress, and discuss customer data. So I guess the part till here is clear to you. The 3 barriers to scaling up. So I think this takes us to the 3rd most important part. What do successful companies scale up to bigger turnovers and profits do in common? So what they do is that they get the 4 things right. The 4 key decisions right. That's what they do. And the first one is they attract and keep the right people. Second one is that they create a truly differentiated strategy. 4th one is that they flawlessly execute. They drive flawless execution of their strategy by building the processes and systems to support the execution. And they have the companies who scale up have a big focus on cash flow, increasing the cash flow. Those are the 4 things. And let's go to each one of them one by one. So this is a question for you to reflect even after this session. Are the stakeholders, which means the employees, customers, shareholders, happy and engaged in the business? And would you rehire all of them? I would like to repeat the last part. Would you rehire all of them? This question itself will give you enough insight to the gaps on your people side. Would you rehire all of them? So that's an important question. So I worked with a founder who came to me and told that our sales team is not performing. So we had a detailed discussion about the problem. What he told is that I know that some of those people are not good and should be replaced, but it may, when I ask them to leave the company, it may happen that becomes a negative news throughout the company, and it also will affect the other people in the company. So, but I think that it doesn't work like that, because you need to let go of the people who do not perform at some point of time in a really good way. It's not like that you ask them to you tell them that you are fired. That's not the way. You can do it in a really, really good way. And those are hard decisions to take. And for scaling up, it's essential. It's a crucial thing that you have the right people doing the right things in your company. So reflect on this question, and I hope that you will get few insights to implement in your business. So what I do with the CEOs I work with are is that let's say that they come to me with a scaling up challenge, and what we do is that we do a 4D assessment of their company with strategic questions around people, strategy, execution, and cash, and we find out where is the biggest problem right now. Is it on the people side, on strategy side, on the execution side, or on the cash side? When we identify the biggest problem, then we implement the tools, which for example, on the people side, this is a function accountability chart. So these tools are not developed by me. So this is developed by a person called Warren Harnish, and he is running a company called Guesses.com. So you can check it out if you want. And these are the tools from him, used by thousands of companies worldwide to scale up. So this is one of the tools which we work together with the CEOs, which is a function accountability chart. And I like this chart very much, because when you are doing this for the when you're filling out this chart with the founders for the first time, look at the please take a look at the left side. So on the left side, you can see the functions. And after that, you can see the person accountable. So first exercise is to write down the names who is accountable to each area. For example, head of the company, this person; head marketing, this person; R&D and innovation, this person. And many times, what happens is that the founder's name comes mostly in the person accountable column. So, and you can try to fill this after this session, and if you find your name mostly in the person accountable column, that's the one you need to fix right now, because your company is entirely dependent on you. When you are 40 or 50 or 50 employees up, what if you're not able to work for a few days, or maybe you want to take a vacation? Will your company go without you? No, because your company is entirely dependent on you. So when we find out that the entire company is dependent on the CEO, that's the thing which we work on first in the people part. And on the other side, you can see the key performance indicators and the results and outcomes. But I don't think that it's a good idea to go detail into those right now. But this is the key. So we identify there is a people problem, then we fill out this chart, then we understand that how the company is working right now, who is taking most of the work, and then we start working out the solutions to spread the work to other people. And in general, I have few recommendations when it comes to people management. So help people to play their strengths. So train and coach your employees. And I really don't believe in the word manager, but for to have some designations is important. But it's really good to develop a training and coaching culture in your company that has a dramatically positive effect on your company. And don't demotivate. And set clear expectations and give employees a clear line of sight. So what I have seen is that when you talk to the employees, they don't know what their future is in the company, and even don't know what company plans to do. So set clear expectations on the performance, and give employees a clear line of sight, and then give recognition and show appreciation, and hire fewer people but pay them more. I've seen several companies doing this because you can hire a lot of people for example, there's a company in Kerala itself who pay the developers, it's an IT outsourcing company, much more than what they get in Kerala, and they are really growing very fast, and they're getting a lot of great developers. So when I worked in my previous company before, I worked with this IT outsourcing company, and I got very good developers from them. So when I asked about it, one of the strategies that shared to get the best talent is that they hire fewer people and pay them more. So that could be a strategy you can try, but I would say that this is not a rule. This you need to try in your business and see if it works for your business. So that takes us to the strategy part. And I would like to remind you that what I cover are just basics of the base of scaling up. And each topic we can talk about it for one day. People management topic, we can talk about hiring, training, retention, everything for one day. So I'm just covering the basics of these topics. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them after this session also. You can email me or we can have a call after the session. So this takes us to, let's go to the second point, which is strategy. And this is the question for you. Can you state your firm's strategy simply? And is it driving sustainable growth in revenue? So this is the question. Can you state your firm's strategy simply? And is it driving sustainable growth in revenue? Going to the example, this is a company called TopTel. When you look at this website itself, it's quite clear. Hire the top 3% of freelance talent. It's clear to their employees. It's clear to the investors. It's clear to everyone. Not much explanation is needed. Now, you need to deliver on that also. That's another thing. But at least it's clear. Hire the top 3% of freelance talent. So this is a tweet I wrote with some months before. I wrote a Twitter thread about 17 differences between average company and great company, and I thought of sharing this tweet in the session. Average company has no clear strategy for consistent growth. Great company has a clear strategy which differentiates the business and generates cash. And the whole company is organized to execute the strategy with focus and discipline. So that's it. Great companies, they have a clear strategy that differentiates the business and it generates cash. So please reflect on the question I shared with you before about the strategy, and I hope it will give you a few insights. So while working with strategy part with the companies, one of the tools which we use is a one-page strategic plan. Because you need something very simple on a piece of paper when the investors or your employees ask about your strategy. So I will give you idea about few elements in this one-page strategic plan. So coming to the left, these are core values or beliefs. And it's so important because it drives everything in your company. How you work with your customers, what kind of customers do you work with, what kind of culture you want to build in a company. Everything is dependent upon these core values and beliefs. And on the right side, you can see the purpose why. I think that I don't have to explain much about the purpose part. And coming to the next column, it's target 3 to 5 years. So when you fill your target for 3 to 5 years, everyone in the company knows what's your target. So you put a future date, what revenues are you targeting, what's the profit, and those elements. And the sandbox means the locations in which you are focusing. Which locations are you going to focus? Depending upon your business, it can vary. And the next, to the right side, what you can see is the goals for 1 year, for example, year ending 22, what revenues, what profit, what gross margins, what's the target cash you should have in your bank account. So those are the things you fill there. And when you come to the actions part, to live, values, purpose, BHAG, you tell, okay, these are the 5 things which we are going to live our values and purposes. So it's crystal clear. And when you come to the key thrusts and capabilities part, you write out the 3 to 5 year priorities. Let's say that you plan to become a $1 billion company in 2030. So what are the key capabilities you need to develop in this in the next 3 to 5 years? For example, it could be that find an advisor who or mentor who can help you to do that. So it's a clear action, and this makes sure that it gets done, because you do constant reflection of constant evaluation of your strategic plan. And on the on the right side, in the key initiatives, the one you can tell that, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what are the five priorities, top 5 priorities for your company? If you don't figure out the top priorities for your company, then of course the employees in the bottom level are going to work on some things which are not relevant for your business. That won't help you to scale up. So the top 5, figure out the we figure out the top 5 priorities, and we we split it into the bottom level. From that priorities, the rest, the priorities of rest of the team members evolve. So that profit per X is profit per employee. So I hope you got an idea of the kind of things which we include in the one-page strategic plan. And filling this plan takes a lot of thinking. It will take, when I work with my clients, it takes sometimes about 2 days, sometimes about 3 days. But we make sure that we nail this plan, because that's what drives the next part, which is execution. And here is the question for you in execution, which you can reflect after the session. Are all the process running with drama and driving industry-leading profitability? What does that mean? With drama means, and I guess that you may have faced a lot in your organization, that some person comes to you and say that, well, this is responsibility of the other person, he didn't do it. The other person comes and say that this is responsibility of him, he didn't do it, and becomes it's a blame game and a lot of talks, and it gets those talks spread in the company, and that's called drama. So working on the execution part, one of the tools which we feel is Rockefeller Habits checklist. So this is a checklist with 10 points, and we try to make sure that we can put tick marks every word in these 10 points and the 4 points below every point. But please remember that this is not an easy process. You cannot change your company in just one day. So putting a tick mark on every point in this checklist takes time. It may take maybe, depending upon your company size, it may take from 6 to 12 months or 18 months to put a tick mark on everything and make this a culture of your company. So I will give one example, the first example, to give you some idea about what this checklist is all about. The first point is that the executive team is healthy and aligned. So it's basically a question: is your executive team healthy and aligned? If that's a primary thing which you need to have if you want to scale up your company. And the sub questions are: the team members understand each other's differences, priorities, and styles. So you can read it as a question: do your team members understand each other's differences, priorities, and styles? The second question is, you can read it as: do the team meet frequently? Weekly is the best for strategic thinking. Do the team participate in ongoing executive education, monthly recommended? Is the team able to engage in constructive debates and all members feel comfortable participating? So if you are able to tick all these points, then it means that your company is working in an aligned way. So I have one question from Thomas that can you share this checklist? Of course I can share. Please send me an email. I will share the email at the end of the session so that so that I can share. If you send me an email, I will share this checklist. So like this, there are 10 points, and without any help, you can start working on this. If you get this checklist, you can start working on these points by yourself, or you can hire, of course, a coach to help you to do it. But Be patient and work through it maybe in the next 12 to 18 months. And you can see that the running your company becomes more fun and engaging and more interesting than compared to the John situation I mentioned at the beginning. So going to the next step, which is cash. So this is a very important part, and this is the question you need to reflect. Do you have consistent sorry for that. So do you have consistent sources of cash ideally generated internally to fuel the growth of your business? I will tell you a very good example from my experience. And when CEO came to me and told that, the sales is going very well. I'm happy with the sales. We are meeting the sales target, but I'm struggling to pay my salaries. Every month for the last 6 months, I was borrowing money. I don't know what's happening. So that's an interesting challenge, right? So I had a detailed discussion with him and asked him, so what is your pending payment right now? So there are two founders for that company, and they both didn't have any clue. So I called the finance manager and asked the same question. So same answer, they don't know. They don't know, and they don't know what stages each customer is. Means they get the contract to start working with the client, and there are several stages of payment delivery, but they don't have any clue on which stage each customer is. They don't have any overview of that, and they don't have any financial dashboards about that. And I have seen this in many companies in the size mainly to 40 to 60 who are in the scale-up stage. And if anybody is in that situation, it's very tough to scale up, because if you don't have access to a clear financial data of your company. While working with so that customer, I didn't complete the story, by the way. With that customer, what we did is that I brought my partner who is an expert in the financial area, and we worked together and created a clear overview of the financials of the company. Means what are the salaries, what are the salary projections, what are the pending payments, and it was a lot. And we set a priority that, okay, from today onwards, we are focusing on to collect all those pending payments. Everybody, finance manager, the sales team, the founders, everybody is trying to collect the pending payments in their own way. And from the next month onwards, this company didn't struggle to pay the salaries because their sales was working very well. And one more point we had to fix there was the delivery part. And we reorganized the delivery, and the customers became more happy, and they started paying the invoices early. And the cash flow dramatically increased, and the company was not struggling anymore to pay the salaries. So that's a simple example. In bigger companies, the problems are much different. So one of the tools which we work with clients is the cash acceleration strategies, and we address these 4 questions. What are the ways to improve your sales cycle? What are the ways to improve the production or inventory cycle? What are the ways to improve the delivery cycle? What are the ways to improve the billing and payment cycle? For example, with one of the clients, what we did is that we made a split of the invoice, which means we charged the customer 2 times, on 15th and on 30th, and it was okay for them, for the customers, and that increased the cash flow. So depending upon your business, a lot can be done to accelerate, increase your cash flow. It could be that one thing could be that reducing the expenses. Many companies do not actively look into the expense. They don't know what's the founders do not know what's the cash coming in and out of the organization on a day. And in scaling up, we say that it's very important that the CEOs get a report every day about the financial status of the company. What's the cash coming in and out. And we also recommend companies to have at least 1 year of operating capital in advance in the bank account, so that you have more freedom of mind to run your business. So those are the 4 parts: strategy, people, strategy, execution, and cash. And as I told you, through this session, I can only provide a very basic idea of what companies do to scale up, and also about the scaling up tools. So I would like to end this session with a tweet I made before. And I think that whatever strategy, whatever execution plan, whatever systems do you have in your company, the people is the main thing. If you don't have the right people doing the right things, then it's difficult to scale up. And for people to give out their best, it's very important that people feel safe to work in your company. Not physically safe. That's why I wrote, in an average company, employees get fired for failing at the job. In great companies, employees feel safe to fail at the job. In many companies, failing, few people in company can only fail. Maybe the senior leadership team, the founder, they can fail. But if other people in the company fail, they get fired, or they get a decrease in the salary, something like that. But if other people in your company can't fail, how can we expect them to try out new things, experiment with new things, and come with initiatives and ideas to grow your business? So I think the most important function, most important responsibility of a founder is to build a culture in which the employees feel that it's safe to fail at the job, so that they will be more willing to try out new things and experiment and help your company to grow. So with that, I would like to end this short session. If you get at least one practical insight to deliver in to implement in your session, implement in your, I'm reading the chats and talking at the same time, that's making the problem. So if you get at least one tip or one insight to implement in your business, I think I would be very happy about that. So I have one more thing to share with you. And thanks to everyone who attended this session. And if you would like to discuss more about your challenges with me, and we can brainstorm a few solutions to your challenges, you can book a meet. I have opened few slots on my calendar. You can go to calendly.com/scaleup-strategist. I will repeat, calendly.com/scaleup-strategist, and book a 1-hour call with me. During this session, during this call, we can discuss about your challenges and brainstorm the solutions. And how it is useful for me is that I can learn a lot about the people who face, I can learn deeply about the founders who want to scale up, deeply about their challenges. And that will give me a lot of insight to publish content and in my website. So if you want to subscribe to my Scaleup newsletter, which I send bi-weekly, you can find it at scaleupstrategist.com/newsletter. So in the coming weeks, I will do it consistently. I will be publishing interviews with really practical insights with thought leaders from around the world. We'll be doing interviews with Indian founders, and also the founders abroad, and the thought leaders in different areas, which I mentioned: people, strategy, execution, and cash. And I will be sending it through the newsletter. So please subscribe if you want, if you feel like reading the newsletter. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at sukesh@scaleupstrategist.com. Thank you.